Dr. Emily Carter had always loved silence. On Earth, silence was rare. But here on the distant planet Virelia, silence was alive. A quiet so deep that even her heartbeat sounded like thunder. The soft glow of the twin moons washed over the alien valley as she stood beside her research tent, writing notes into her digital pad. Virelia was a new world discovered only a few years ago, rich with unknown plants and strange glowing minerals. Emily worked here as a biologist and medic, part of a small human team studying how life adapted on alien worlds. Most days were peaceful, long hours of collecting samples, measuring temperatures, and sending reports back to the orbiting station. But that night everything changed. At first, it was just a flash, a sharp streak of light tearing across the night sky. Then came the sound, a low, roaring boom that echoed through the valley. Emily's head snapped up. She had seen meteors before, but this one was different. The light was too controlled, the descent too straight, and when it hit the ground miles away, the shockwave rattled her tent and knocked several tools off the table. "Not a meteor," she whispered. "A ship." She quickly grabbed her emergency pack, sealed her helmet, and started toward the crash site. Her radio crackled with static, but no human voice answered. The station's network must have gone down in the shockwave. She hesitated for a moment. The smart thing was to wait for rescue teams or report the crash to command. But her curiosity was stronger than fear. Emily was used to danger, storms, broken machines, even wild alien creatures. She had survived them all. And something deep inside told her someone might need help. The walk through the forested valley took nearly an hour. Strange plants glowed softly as she passed, their blue and green lights making the path look almost dreamlike. The smell of burning metal grew stronger with each step. Then she saw it. A wrecked spacecraft lay half buried in the ground, its black hull cracked open like an eggshell. Smoke rose from glowing vents and sparks flew from a damaged engine. She moved closer carefully, flashlight cutting through the haze. Inside she found bodies, or what was left of them. Large figures in dark armor, their features hidden. Some were clearly dead. But near the center of the wreck, one of them was still breathing. He was huge, nearly 7 feet tall, with skin that shimmered faintly like silver under the light. His armor was cracked, one arm bleeding from a deep wound that pulsed with blue light. His chest rose and fell weakly. When Emily approached, his eyes opened, bright silver, glowing faintly, full of pain and confusion. For a moment, they simply stared at each other, human and alien, two beings who had never met before yet somehow understood the same thing: survival. Emily slowly lowered her pack. "It's okay," she said softly. "I'm here to help." The alien tried to speak, but the words came out as harsh, broken sounds. Then his head fell back, unconscious. Emily scanned him with her medical device. His pulse was weak, body temperature dropping fast. The scanner translated a few readings into English. Severe blood loss. Cellular oxygen failing. She looked at the strange blue blood leaking from his wound. It was thick, almost metallic in smell. The scanner flashed again. Composition 83% similar to human hemoglobin. Her heart raced. 83%? She whispered. That was nearly compatible. Not perfect, but enough. She looked around. The crash had destroyed any possible medical kit the alien might have had. Her own supplies were limited, but she had one emergency transfusion unit, meant for human use only. Her mind argued, "You can't do this, Emily. You don't know his biology. It could kill him. It could kill you." But another voice spoke louder, the same voice that had driven her to explore new worlds, to risk everything for science and compassion. "If you don't try, he dies anyway," she sighed. "Well, alien or not, you're my patient now." She rolled up her sleeve and connected her arm to the transfusion line. The machine hummed softly as it drew her blood, filtered it, and began transferring it into the alien's system. Minutes passed. Sweat gathered on her forehead as she monitored his vitals. The scanner showed faint improvement. His pulse strengthened. The blue color of his skin grew lighter, shifting toward a silvery glow. Then, for a moment, his hand twitched. She almost pulled back in surprise, but instead she smiled. "You're alive. Stay with me." Outside, the storm grew stronger. Thunder cracked across the alien sky. The ship creaked and groaned as more debris fell from the ceiling. Emily moved closer to shield the alien from falling fragments. At last, the transfusion ended. She disconnected the line and wrapped her arm. Her head spun, giving blood always made her dizzy. But she stayed awake. She needed to see if it worked. After a few minutes, the alien's breathing became steady. The wound on his arm had started to close on its own, glowing faintly as if his body was rebuilding itself faster now. Emily sat beside him, exhausted but relieved. "You're healing," she said quietly. "Guess that means your body likes my blood." Hours passed. Emily built a small fire using broken ship parts and dry plant fibers. She ate a ration bar, though her appetite was gone. Her eyes kept drifting to the alien's face, calm now, almost peaceful. As dawn approached, the storm faded. The sky turned soft pink and mist covered the valley. The crash site looked less terrifying in daylight, just a ruin of smoke and twisted metal. Emily stood and checked the ship's communication panel, hoping to send a distress signal. The system flickered weakly but failed to transmit. She sighed. "Great. Looks like it's just you and me, friend." She turned to check on him again, and froze. The alien's eyes were open. They glowed softly, like liquid silver reflecting sunlight. He stared at her silently, then slowly sat up. Emily instinctively took a step back but didn't run. His movements were cautious, heavy with pain. He looked down at his arm, touching the sealed wound. Then his gaze shifted to the transfusion unit beside him. He seemed to understand what she had done. When he finally spoke, his voice was deep but unsteady, shaped by the translator attached to his armor. "You gave me your life?" Emily swallowed. "I gave you my blood," she said softly. "It was the only way to save you." He tilted his head slightly as if studying her. "Why?" "Because you were dying," she said simply. "And because that's what humans do when someone needs help." The alien was silent for a long time. Then slowly, he placed his hand on his chest, a gesture that seemed respectful. "Rakor," he said. "That is my name." "Emily," she replied. "Dr. Emily Carter." He repeated her name slowly, almost reverently. Lee." Despite the exhaustion, she smiled. "Close enough." Rakor looked around the wreckage, then back at her. "The others?" Emily's expression darkened. "I'm sorry. You were the only one alive." He lowered his head, saying nothing for several seconds. When he finally spoke again, his tone was softer. "You risked your life for me. Among my people, that is. Sacred." She didn't know what to say to that. "You would have done the same." He looked up sharply. "No, my kind. We are trained to fight, not to be saved." Emily sat beside the dying fire. "Maybe it's time your people learned their strength and mercy too." For the first time, Rakor smiled, a small, uncertain smile that looked strange but genuine. Outside, the wind whispered through the alien trees. The sun rose over the valley, lighting the broken ship and the two figures beside it. One human, one alien, bound by blood and chance. Neither of them knew that this moment would change the future of both their worlds forever. For now, there was only peace, the calm before the storm that was yet to come. The sun of Virelia shone gently over the shattered valley. Mist floated between tall crystal trees, and smoke still rose from the remains of the alien craft. Emily Carter sat near the wreck, cleaning her medical tools and checking her readings. It had been 2 days since the crash. The alien, Rakor as he called himself, he was still recovering. His body healed faster than she could understand. What amazed her most was how her blood had become part of that process. The transfusion had somehow activated his cells. The scanner showed strange readings, human and alien DNA working together. Emily wasn't a soldier or an explorer like those in the movies. She was a scientist, someone who studied life, but now she had accidentally become part of something far greater. Inside the wreckage, Rakor sat quietly. His armor was partly repaired. His energy weapon lay beside him, half melted from the crash. His eyes glowed dimly as he watched Emily move between the scattered debris. When she noticed his gaze, she smiled. "You look better today," Rakor nodded slowly. "Your blood has strength," he said in his deep, measured voice. "I can feel it. My wounds are gone faster than ever before." Emily checked her wrist pad. "You're healing faster than human biology can explain. Maybe our blood structures are more similar than we thought." He tilted his head. "Strange. My kind believed humans were fragile." Emily chuckled softly. "We are fragile, but we don't give up easily." Rakor looked thoughtful. "When my ship fell, I thought it was the end. Yet you, a creature of another world, gave me life. Among my people, that is, More than honor. Her smile faded slightly. You keep saying that honor. Does it mean that much to you? Yes, Rakor said firmly. We are Calorians. Our honor is everything. We fight to protect our people and we die with pride. But mercy, compassion, those are words we forgot long ago. Emily sat down beside the remains of a control panel. Maybe it's time your people remembered. The galaxy doesn't just need warriors, it needs healers too. He looked at her for a long moment, then gave a small nod. Perhaps you are right. The silence between them was peaceful. Emily could hear the wind brushing through the trees, carrying the scent of metal and ash. Suddenly her scanner beeped, a faint pulse coming from the north. She frowned. That's strange. I'm picking up movement. Mechanical, not biological. Rakor immediately stood. Show me. She turned the screen toward him. A red signal blinked across the map, slowly approaching. Could it be your people? She asked, his expression hardened. No, Calorian signals are blue. Red belongs to the Zyrax Dominion, our enemies. Emily's stomach turned cold. Enemies? You mean the ones who shot you down? Yes, Rakor said, his voice grim. They hunt survivors. They will search the wreckage and they will kill anything they find. Emily took a step back, heart racing. Then we have to hide. My research station is 2 kilometers east. We can reach it before they arrive. Rakor shook his head. You go. I will stay and face them. Are you insane? She said. You can barely stand and your ship is destroyed. He straightened his posture, pride burning in his eyes. I am a Calorian commander. I will not run. Emily crossed her arms stubbornly. And I'm a scientist who doesn't leave her patients behind. If you stay, I stay. For a moment they glared at each other. Human determination against alien pride. Then slowly Rakor smiled. You are stubborn. Thank you, she said. Now come on. We can make it to the station if we move fast. The journey through the forest was tense. The sun was bright above, but Emily could feel the air grow colder as they moved. Rakor carried what remained of his weapon, though it sparked occasionally and refused to fire. As they climbed a small ridge, Emily looked back and saw dark shapes in the distance, 3 flying drones moving in a slow search pattern. They're scanning, she whispered. Rakor's eyes glowed faintly. They are scouts. The Zyrax never attack without marking their prey first. Emily didn't like the sound of that. Then let's make sure they don't mark us. They reached her research station just as the sun began to fall behind the hills. The small dome of metal and glass stood quiet, half covered in dust and vines. Emily quickly activated the security system and sealed the doors. Welcome to my home, she said, trying to smile. Rakor examined the interior, the clean white walls, glowing consoles and storage containers filled with tools. You live here alone? Sometimes, she said. The others left for the orbiting lab last week. I stayed behind to finish my research. He nodded slowly. You have courage. Post-humans would not stay alone on a wild world. Emily laughed softly. Maybe I just like quiet places. Rakor looked at her, his silver eyes reflecting the soft blue lights of the station. Quiet is rare in war. You value peace. My kind could learn from that, she blushed slightly. And I could learn a bit of your bravery. Before he could reply, an alarm suddenly echoed through the station. A red light blinked across the console. Emily rushed to the controls. They've found the wreck. The Zyrax are moving toward us. Rakor looked at the radar. They will arrive in less than an hour. She turned to him quickly. Then we need a plan. What are they? Soldiers, machines? Both, Rakor said grimly. They use hybrid drones, metal and living flesh combined. They destroy everything. Emily stared at him. Then we fight smart. He raised an eyebrow. You wish to fight them? Of course. I didn't give you my blood just so you could die again, she said. This station has a power grid and a few defense turrets. If I reroute the energy, I can create traps. Rakor's smile returned, sharp and approving. A scientist with a warrior's heart. They worked quickly. Emily moved between the consoles, setting power lines to overload certain points outside the station. Rakor, despite his injuries, placed energy cores along the path leading to the entrance. Every movement he made was efficient, precise. The mark of a trained commander. As night fell, they finished their setup. Emily stood near the window, watching distant red lights move closer through the mist. They're coming, she whispered. Rakor placed a large, steady hand on her shoulder. Then we stand together. The first drone appeared minutes later. a metallic creature with spinning blades and glowing red sensors. It hovered silently, scanning the area. Emily held her breath as it approached the entrance. "Now," she whispered. She pressed a button. A surge of blue electricity burst from the ground, striking the drone. It twitched violently before collapsing in a shower of sparks. "One down," she said with a nervous grin. But more came, 5 then 10 flying low and fast. They began to fire plasma bolts, lighting up the dark sky. The air filled with smoke and light. Rakor stepped forward, grabbing his damaged weapon. "Cover your ears!" The weapon roared to life with a blast of white energy. One drone exploded, then another. Emily rerouted more power to the turrets, which came alive with pulsing blue light. The battle raged for several minutes. Energy fire, explosions, the metallic cry of falling machines. Finally, the last drone fell, crashing into the ground near the dome. Silence returned, broken only by the hum of damaged circuits. Emily leaned against the console, breathing hard. "We did it." Rakor lowered his weapon slowly. "You fought with wisdom. Without your traps, we would have fallen." She smiled faintly. "Guess I'm not so fragile after all." He turned toward her, expression softening. "No, Emily Carter. You are not fragile. You are stronger than many warriors I have known." For a long moment they stood in silence, the faint light of the stars shining through the cracked dome above them. Rakor finally spoke, his tone thoughtful. "You risked your life again, not for yourself but for another. Among my people we call that the mark of a true heart." Emily looked down, a little embarrassed. "I just did what was right," he nodded. "That is why humans will rise high among the stars." Outside, faint streaks of red light glimmered on the horizon. More ships coming, perhaps. But for now, the station was safe. Inside, 2 survivors, one human and one alien, stood side by side, no longer strangers but allies, bound by courage and a promise neither fully understood yet. The war might still be far from over, but something new had begun, something that would change not only their fates but the destiny of 2 entire species. The night after the drone attack was quiet, too quiet. The wind moved softly through the silver trees, carrying the scent of smoke and metal. Inside the research station, Dr. Emily Carter sat near the main console, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. She had not slept since the crash. Rakor stood by the window, his tall figure outlined by the blue light of the control panels. His armor was cracked but repaired enough to move freely. His eyes glowed faintly, watching the distant horizon where red flashes sometimes flickered in the clouds. Emily rubbed her eyes. "Do you think more of those machines will come?" Rakor's voice was calm but firm. "Yes, the Zyrax never stop once they find a target. The drones were scouts. The real attack will come from above, a cruiser or a troop ship." Emily leaned back in her chair. "Then we don't have much time." He turned toward her. "You should leave before they arrive. Take the escape pod and reach orbit. You can contact your people there." She shook her head immediately. "I'm not leaving you behind." Rakor's expression was unreadable. "You have already done more than enough. You gave me your blood. You saved my life twice. I will not let you die because of my war." Emily stood facing him. "And I told you before, I don't leave people behind. You're not just a soldier anymore. You're my friend." For a moment his glowing eyes softened. "Human loyalty," he murmured. "It is strange. And powerful." Before Emily could reply, the alarm blared again. The radar flashed bright red. Multiple signals, dozens of them, were descending fast. Her hands flew across the controls. "They're landing squads and at least 3 shuttles." Rakor's jaw tightened. Then the battle begins. Within an hour, the valley was filled with shadows. The night sky glowed red as Zyrax ships pierced through the clouds, releasing waves of drones and armored soldiers. They moved with mechanical precision, their metal limbs clanging against the rocky ground. Inside the dome, Emily worked quickly. She rerouted power from the research systems to the outer defense grid. "We only have energy for 1 big blast," she warned. "After that, we'll be out," Rakor nodded. "1 is enough if used wisely." He moved toward the door, gripping his repaired weapon. Emily followed him to the outer barrier, her heart pounding in her chest. Through the transparent shield, she saw the first line of Zyrax troops approaching. Tall, insect-like creatures of metal and flesh, their glowing red eyes fixed on the station. "They don't look friendly," she whispered. "They never are," Rakor replied grimly. "They are bred for war. They destroy everything that is not their own." The creatures advanced slowly, scanning the area. When they reached the perimeter, Rakor pressed his hand to the wall. Now, Emily hit the command key. A surge of blue energy exploded from the ground, sending waves of lightning across the field. The nearest group of enemies was thrown back, their armor sparking and collapsing into dust. "Nice shot," Emily cheered, but the others kept coming. More soldiers marched forward, firing bright plasma bolts. The station shook as explosions tore into the outer walls. Rakor fired back, his weapon glowing white as it struck enemy after enemy. He moved with precision, every motion clean and efficient. Emily helped by triggering the defense turrets one by one, guiding their aim through the console. Despite the chaos, there was something breathtaking in the sight. A human scientist and an alien warrior fighting side by side. Rakor shouted over the noise. "You were born for battle, Emily Carter." She laughed breathlessly. "I was born for science. This is just a side project." They fought until smoke filled the air and the ground outside burned red from energy fire. But the Zirax didn't stop. The main cruiser appeared above the valley, its shadow swallowing the light. Emily looked up through the glass ceiling. The ship was massive, like a floating fortress. "That thing's going to level this whole valley," she said. Rakor's expression hardened. "It will destroy everything. Your station, your people's research, all life within miles. They do not leave witnesses." Her mind raced. There had to be a way. Something. She opened the control map and scanned the local terrain. Then an idea struck her. Wild, dangerous, but possible. "Rakor," she called. "The geothermal vents under this valley. If we overload them, they'll erupt like a volcano. The blast could destroy that cruiser." He looked at her sharply. "That explosion will also destroy this base." "I know," she said, voice steady. "But it's the only way." He stepped closer, his tone urgent. "You are human. Your kind is not built to survive such a blast." Emily met his glowing eyes. "Neither are you, but I've seen what your people call honor." "This is it." Rakor was silent for a long moment. Finally, he said quietly, "You are more Calorian than many of my kind." She gave a small, tired smile. "I'll take that as a compliment." They worked quickly. Emily opened the underground maintenance hatch and began rerouting the energy lines that ran deep into the valley's geothermal core. Sparks flew as she connected the final wires. Sweat dripped from her forehead, but her hands didn't shake. Rakor stood guard at the entrance, firing at the approaching drones. "They are getting closer," he warned. "Just a minute more," she shouted, typing fast. The station lights flickered as the energy levels reached critical. The ground trembled. A low rumble filled the air, growing louder each second. The vents below began to glow red-hot. Emily looked up at him. "It's ready." "Then we must leave." He shouted, "There's no time. The escape pod won't launch before it blows." Rakor's eyes widened as realization struck. "You mean to stay?" She smiled softly. "Someone has to make sure it works." He took a step toward her, his voice filled with emotion. "No, you have already given me your blood. You will not give your life too." But before she could answer, the wall behind them exploded. A massive Zirax soldier, twice the size of the others, burst into the room. Its metal claws gleamed and its red eyes burned with fury. Rakor moved instantly, placing himself between the creature and Emily. "Run!" he ordered. Emily refused. She grabbed a nearby power rod and charged it with energy. "Not without you!" Together they fought. Rakor with his weapon, Emily using the rod to strike and shock the creature's limbs. It was a desperate battle, sparks flying everywhere. Finally, Rakor plunged his weapon into the creature's chest and it fell with a loud crash. The whole station began to shake violently. The geothermal core was ready to erupt. Emily pressed the final command on her console. "It's done," she shouted. "Get out, Rakor." But before she could move, he grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the corridor. "Hold on!" He carried her as the floor cracked beneath them. The world turned red with light. The last thing Emily saw was the sky splitting open as fire and lightning swallowed everything. Then, darkness. When she woke, she was surrounded by soft light. The smell of clean air and humming machines filled her senses. Her body felt weightless. Slowly, her eyes opened. She was in a medical bay, but not her own. The walls were metallic silver, the air cool and fresh, and standing beside her bed was Rakor, alive and unharmed. "You are safe," he said gently. "We escaped just before the explosion." Emily blinked in confusion. "How?" "My distress beacon activated. My people found us moments before the blast. They pulled us aboard. She sat up slowly. The cruiser? Destroyed, he said with pride. Your plan worked. The Zyrax were wiped out. Emily smiled weakly. Good. Maybe now this planet can rest. Rakor looked at her for a long time. You risked everything to save my people's honor, and your own world. There is no reward great enough for what you have done. She shook her head softly. I didn't do it for a reward. I did it because it was right. He bowed his head deeply, a gesture of great respect. Then you have earned something far greater than honor. You have earned the respect of the Calorian Empire. Emily smiled faintly, her eyes closing again as exhaustion claimed her. The last thing she heard before sleep took her was Rakor's quiet voice. Rest now, brave human. The galaxy will remember your name. When Emily opened her eyes, everything felt distant and quiet. The hum of machines echoed softly around her. She was lying on a smooth white bed inside a strange metallic room. The ceiling shimmered with faint blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. For a moment she thought she was still dreaming, until a deep voice spoke near her ear. You are safe now, Dr. Carter. Emily turned her head slowly. Standing beside her was Rakor, alive and strong. His silver armor gleamed, repaired and polished, and his once wounded face looked whole again. His silver blue eyes softened when he saw her awake. Rakor? She whispered. Where? Where are we? He bowed his head respectfully. We are aboard the Vigilant Star, my flagship. My brothers rescued us after the explosion. You were nearly lost, but I pulled you out in time. Emily tried to sit up, but he gently placed a large, clawed hand on her shoulder. Rest, he said firmly. You have done enough. Her memories flooded back, the battle, the Zyrax cruiser, the blast of fire and energy. She remembered pressing the command that triggered the explosion, thinking she would never open her eyes again. Yet here she was, alive and breathing, I thought. She began softly. I thought I was gone. Rakor nodded slowly. You almost were, but I could not let the light that saved me fade away. Emily smiled faintly. Then I guess we saved each other. After a few hours of rest, she was strong enough to walk. Rakor guided her through the corridors of the ship. Everywhere she looked, Calorian warriors stopped and bowed their heads as she passed. They were tall, broad, and shining in polished armor, yet their gestures carried respect rather than pride. Why are they doing that? Emily asked quietly. Rakor gave a small smile. You are honored among us. The council heard what you did, that you gave your own blood to a warrior of another world. That act has deep meaning in Calorian culture. It is called life bonding. It means joining fates. For a human to perform it is beyond belief. Emily felt her cheeks warm. I didn't do it for honor. I just didn't want you to die. And that, Rakor said, is exactly why they honor you. He led her into a grand chamber filled with light. The walls curved upward like the inside of a shell, covered in silver patterns that glowed faintly. At the center stood a long crystal table surrounded by 12 figures, the Calorian High Council. Their eyes followed her every move. Rakor knelt before them and Emily quickly followed his lead. The eldest counselor, a tall figure with deep blue markings across his face, spoke in a calm, melodic tone. Human Emily Carter, you are welcome aboard the Vigilant Star. You have done something no being of your kind has ever done. You gave your life's essence to one of our own. You fought beside him and you stood against the Zyrax when all odds were lost. Emily swallowed nervously. I just did what felt right. The counselor nodded. That is the heart of courage, and courage is sacred among our people. Rakor stood and addressed the council. I owe my life to this human. She not only saved me but showed the strength of her race. She turned a hopeless battle into victory. I ask the council to recognize her, not as an outsider but as one of us, the council members murmured to each other. Then the eldest raised his hand for silence. Let it be known, he declared, that Emily Carter of Earth is now bloodkin to the Calorian Empire. She shall bear the Medal of Infinite Valor, the highest symbol of honor among our kind. Emily's eyes widened. I don't deserve that. Rakor turned to her and smiled. You do, more than anyone I have known. That evening, the ceremony took place in the ship's great hall. Hundreds of Calorians stood in silence as the council presented the medal, a silver pendant shaped like 2 stars joined by a single drop of light. The pendant floated gently onto her chest, glowing softly as it bonded with her heartbeat. When the ceremony ended, Rakor approached her quietly. The Council has decided to escort you to our homeworld, he said. They wish to show you what your act has meant to us. Emily looked around at the sea of glowing eyes, watching her with admiration. I never imagined this. I just wanted to help one person. Rakor looked down at her. And by helping one, you changed many. The journey to Caloria took several days. Through the ship's windows, Emily watched the stars slide past like rivers of light. Rakor spent hours teaching her about his world. Its twin suns, its crystal oceans, and the mountain citadels where the greatest warriors trained. When they finally arrived, the view took her breath away. Caloria shone like a sapphire beneath two golden stars. Vast forests glowed faintly from bioluminescent plants, and towering silver spires rose above the clouds. This is your world, Emily whispered. Our world, Rakor corrected gently. They descended to the capital city, GalacticPrime, where crowds of Calorians gathered to see the human who had saved one of their heroes. Music filled the air, deep, echoing tones that vibrated through the heart. Children held up banners painted with stars and drops of silver light. Emily felt small among them, yet deeply moved. For the first time since the crash, she realized how far her actions had reached. Later, in a quiet garden of crystal trees, Rakor and Emily walked together. The air shimmered faintly, filled with soft sounds like distant singing. You changed the way my people see yours, Rakor said quietly. Before you, we thought humans were fragile, creatures bound to one small world. But you showed that true strength does not come from power or size. It comes from heart, Emily smiled. Maybe humanity still has something to teach the galaxy after all. Rakor stopped walking and looked at her seriously. I told the Council that our future must be shared, that the Calorians should stand with Earth, not above it. Her eyes widened. You mean an alliance? He nodded. Yes, a formal bond between our worlds. Trade, science, protection, and friendship. Emily felt a wave of emotion rise in her chest. That's incredible. He bowed his head slightly. It is your doing. You gave me life, Emily, and through you, two worlds may now share it. That night, a celebration lit up the sky. Twin moons reflected on the crystal rivers as ships danced above the horizon in patterns of light. Emily stood on a balcony overlooking the glowing city. The air was filled with laughter, music, and the hum of energy. Rakor joined her, holding two small cups of bright blue drink. Calorian nectar, he explained with a faint smile. A toast to honor and friendship. She took one and raised it. To the future, she said. To the bond of blood, he replied. They watched the sky together as thousands of lights rose like stars, the sign of peace between two worlds. Emily felt a deep calm inside her heart. She had traveled farther than she ever imagined, met beings she never dreamed existed, and somehow changed the fate of an empire. She had given her blood once to save one life. Now that single act had united civilizations. As the celebration continued below, Rakor turned to her and said quietly, In our language, your name means the one who shares light. It will be written in our histories. Emily looked out at the glowing city and whispered, Then let it stand for hope. That night, she finally allowed herself to rest. For the first time in many weeks, her dreams were peaceful. The sounds of Caloria's twin seas echoed softly in the distance. And though she was far from Earth, she felt at home, surrounded not by strangers, but by friends who now carried her courage within their hearts. Her act of compassion had started a new story, one not of war, but of unity. A story that began with a single drop of blood and ended with a bond that reached across the stars. Emily Carter awoke to the soft hum of her own home laboratory on Earth. Sunlight poured through the tall windows, catching dust particles that danced lazily in the air. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming. The silver cities of Caloria, Rakor's glowing eyes, the twin moons, all felt far away. Then her comm device beeped, flashing the emblem of the United Earth Space Agency. Emily sat up quickly, heart racing. It had been months since her journey to Caloria, and she had returned carrying more than just memories. A video message popped up. The voice of the High Council of Caloria filled the screen, deep and melodic. Emily Carter, the bloodkin of the Calorian Empire. Your actions have been shared across the galaxy. The alliance between Earth and Caloria now begins. You have changed the destiny of two civilizations. We honor you eternally. Emily blinked, her hand trembling slightly. The medal of infinite valor, now safely kept in a protective case, reflected the sunlight. She had not expected recognition on this scale. Saving Rakor had been an instinct, the right thing to do, but she realized her act had sparked something much greater than herself. The first weeks after her return were filled with meetings, briefings, and interviews. Scientists, diplomats, and military officials wanted to hear her account. Emily spoke carefully, describing the crash, her decision to transfuse her blood, and the battles against the Zyrax. "Your courage is remarkable," said Commander Lopez of the United Earth Space Agency. "We never expected humans to survive, let alone lead alien forces to victory." Emily shook her head. "I didn't do it for recognition. I did it because one life mattered." Lopez smiled. "One life changed everything. Humanity now has allies among the stars. Your decision will save millions in the future." It was a lot to take in. Emily had always been driven by curiosity and compassion, not fame or glory. Yet now, she realized that small acts of courage could echo farther than she had ever imagined. Back in her laboratory, Emily examined the samples she had brought from Caloria. Among them were biological tissues, minerals, and energy crystals, some of which reacted to her touch. She ran tests carefully, documenting every detail. The most extraordinary discovery was the compatibility of human and Calorian blood. The transfusion had not only healed Rakor, but also activated something within his cells, a form of adaptive energy she had never seen before. This could revolutionize medicine," she whispered to herself. "If humans and Calorians can share blood in this way, it may unlock cures we can't even imagine." Her research quickly drew attention from top scientists around the world. Collaborations began forming, combining Earth technology with Calorian science. Emily watched as her simple act of compassion grew into a partnership that would benefit both worlds. Weeks later, Emily received another message, this time from Rakor himself. "Emily, the Calorian fleet is ready to welcome you again. Your knowledge is needed to guide the Alliance. We launch a joint mission to explore new systems and protect vulnerable worlds. You will stand with us as both scientist and ambassador." Emily stared at the screen, stunned. A joint human-Calorian fleet? She had never imagined herself leading anything beyond her research station. Yet she felt a spark of excitement. "Looks like my quiet days are over," she murmured, smiling. Rakor's figure appeared beside her in the hologram. "You have given life to more than one world, Emily. Are you ready to continue?" She nodded firmly. "Yes. Let's see what else humanity can do." The first joint fleet launch was unlike anything Earth had seen. Humans and Calorians stood side by side on massive ships, their energies synchronized. Emily observed the controls, coordinating with Rakor and other Calorian commanders. The sky above Earth was filled with streaks of silver and blue as ships rose into orbit. People on the ground watched in awe, realizing that humanity had entered a new era, not alone, but as part of a greater galactic community. As they passed the upper atmosphere, Rakor appeared beside her on the command deck of his ship. "You did this," he said softly. "Because of your courage, humans are now recognized among the stars. You changed everything." Emily shook her head. "I only helped one person. You did the rest," he smiled. "And you gave me the chance to live and fight. That one act changed everything." During the journey through deep space, Emily saw wonders she had never imagined. Nebulas of color unlike anything on Earth. Planets covered entirely in ice or crystal forests, and stars that pulsed like giant hearts. But the most rewarding sight was the people, humans and Calorians working together, learning from each other. Human engineers adapted Calorian technology, while Calorian warriors learned strategy from humans. Bridges between worlds were forming not only in science and defense, but also in trust and understanding. Emily realized that her small act of compassion had ignited a chain reaction. Humanity's courage had earned respect, trust, and friendship across the galaxy. One night, as Emily stood on the observation deck of the flagship, Rakor joined her. The stars stretched endlessly before them. "You see them," he said, gesturing to the glowing nebulae. "Each one is a world we can protect, explore, and learn from. Humanity has a place here because of you." Emily smiled, feeling both proud and humbled. "It's still strange to think that giving my blood could lead to all of this." He nodded. "Your action proves something vital. Courage, compassion, and wisdom are more powerful than weapons. You have shown that humanity is capable of greatness." HFY, indeed. They stood in silence watching distant worlds drift by. Emily realized she no longer feared the unknown. Instead, she felt excitement, hope, and determination. Months later, Emily returned to Earth briefly to deliver reports and attend ceremonies. She was greeted with medals, honors, and speeches praising her bravery. Yet she did not focus on these accolades. Her true reward came in quiet moments, seeing young scientists inspired by her story, meeting Calorian diplomats who had come to study with humans, and knowing that one simple choice had changed the galaxy's future. One day, a small group of children approached her during a public demonstration. They asked about the alien warrior she had saved. Emily knelt down and said softly, "Courage isn't about strength or size. It's about doing what is right even when it's scary. And when you help others, sometimes the universe rewards you in ways you cannot imagine." The children's eyes widened, and Emily smiled. She knew that these young humans might become the next explorers, scientists, or diplomats. Her story would live on in them, proof that one person could make a difference. Back aboard the Calorian flagship, Rakor and Emily prepared for the next mission. Together they would travel farther than anyone had before, exploring uncharted worlds, protecting civilizations, and strengthening the bond between Earth and Caloria. "Ready for the next adventure?" Rakor asked, his silver eyes glowing in the soft light of the bridge. Emily took a deep breath, feeling the weight and excitement of responsibility. "Always," she said. As the fleet moved into deep space, Emily realized that her act of courage, giving her blood to save one alien warrior, had grown into something far greater. She had sparked alliances, inspired countless humans and aliens, and shown that compassion and bravery were humanity's greatest strengths. The stars stretched endlessly before her, full of possibilities. And somewhere in the quiet between them, she felt a profound truth. One small act could indeed change the course of history. Emily smiled, knowing that she had gone beyond her wildest dreams, not through power or fame, but through courage, compassion, and the unwavering choice to do what was right. Above the endless expanse of space, the human and Calorian flags flew side by side, a symbol of hope, unity, and the promise that together, the galaxy could be a better place. And for Emily Carter, the scientist who gave an alien warrior her blood, the universe had finally opened its doors to the extraordinary,